There's so many nuances when it comes to conflict resolution, and it all depends on what your style of communication is, your partner's communication style, what's going on in your head and their head. So what I want you to keep in mind is what would actually make this better moving forward. Not what do I feel like doing, because sometimes we can get petty, right? But what would actually make this better? Because behind the wall that you're putting up to protect yourself, you deeply just want to reconnect with your partner. So, what would you need to do in order to accomplish that?
Welcome to the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. I'm Michelle Perda, mom of three, wife, marriage coach, and host of this show. I help couples move from reactive patterns to intentional partnership using my connected partnership framework so you can feel more connected, supported, and get back to feeling like an us again, all while raising kids. If you've ever felt like you and your partner keep having the same arguments on repeat, or like you've slowly become more like roommates than partners, you're not alone, and your marriage is not broken. The truth is, most couples were never taught how to navigate conflict, communicate effectively, or build a strong partnership. And that's exactly what we do here. Now let's dive in.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Marriage and Motherhood Podcast. We are now working on part 5 of my new mini series, Why You Keep Having the Same Arguments and How to Actually Break the Pattern. Today, we're going to be talking about why your conversations don't lead to resolution and what's missing. Now, here's what I see so often in the couples that I work with. Most couples don't actually resolve conflict. What ends up happening is they attempt to talk about it, doesn't work out. They're emotionally drained from talking about it in circles at length, and they get tired. And life, right? Kids, work, taking care of the house, whatever it is, they have to go to sleep or they need to get to the next thing. And so they just stop talking about it. And while the intention might be to continue the conversation at another time, they end up just dropping it. They move on, right? They sweep it under the rug. Oh, it's been so long. There's no point in bringing it back up again. Oh, we're too busy, right? You become avoidant because you know that the conversation isn't going to go well. So you put your head in the sand like an ostrich. But what happens? It comes back because the tension doesn't go away. The problem doesn't go away. And the pressure builds. And then it happens again, right? Something reminds you of this unresolved problem, and you guys talk about it again. And then it doesn't work out. And you guys get emotionally spent. And you tuck it away and live your life, only for it to come back up again. This is so much more common than you think. And what's happening here is, honestly, avoidance. Emotional exhaustion, and a lack of collaboration. Not for a lack of trying, mind you, just a lack of knowing how to handle it differently, right? If you think that talking about things automatically means frustration, loneliness, pain, you're going to be like, do I really care that much to talk about this? How mad am I about this? I would rather just keep the peace. That is completely understandable. That is a human thing to do. Who wants to willingly go into a situation knowing that you're going to be uncomfortable, that you're going to feel sad and angry and frustrated? There is so much stress just being a parent that why would you willingly sign up for that? And what I want to share with you is that I understand why you're avoiding. And to that, I say, there is a different way to handle it so that things can get resolved, so that communication doesn't have to feel so hard, so that you can get back to real life and be able to address the thing, okay? And here's the thing I want you to know. Resolution doesn't happen through just talking alone. It happens through collaboration. And the missing step is you guys are having trouble working as a team. You guys are still approaching things like me versus you. You are not operating as a team, as partners. And if you're not solving the problem together, both of you are literally just surviving the conversation, but with nothing to show for it. I'll give you an example here. I have a couple who wasn't afraid to bring things up at first, but over time, they generated so much evidence from their conversations that led to them to believe that talking it out lands them in a worse place, right? One person would express how they feel, but then in that conversation, the other person would get offended. They would take it and feel hurt by what's being shared and think that they're being attacked, right? They're perceiving their partner is trying to put them down or attack them. And so if you believe that your partner is trying to put you down, one of them would share how they're feeling and get really worked up about what was happening, as we sometimes can get when we are explaining what's going on with us, right? We kind of go back into this place where almost like we're reliving it. And while they were sharing what their experience was and what they were needing, their partner perceived it as an insult to their character. They took it as criticism, and they didn't feel like they had a partner. They felt like they were being attacked. And that is what led to them feeling stuck every single time they tried to talk. One would be upset, the other person would feel like a failure, not knowing what to say, not knowing what to do. And so we have two hurt people in the conversation. So through our work together, they recognized how they were impacting each other, and they learned how to collaborate, and they were able to problem solve together. And without that, they would continue going in these repetitive cycles, having this pattern where one is being vulnerable, the other person's getting hurt by that vulnerability. They are misunderstanding each other. They are saying things that are unintentionally hurting their partner because they don't understand what they're both experiencing. And the issue here is that when we aren't aware of how we're impacting our partner, we keep going, right? We have this thing in mind. We're like, okay, I got to tell them all these things that they did and how they affected me and how they were wrong to do that. Because if I don't share it, then it's going to repeat. I don't want this to repeat. But sometimes when we do that, we're not paying attention to how our partner is receiving that. What's it like to be on the other end, right? Because we're busy protecting ourselves, right? We're bringing things up to advocate for ourselves as if our partner is our arch nemesis, right? Back to the me versus you mentality. So something I want you to start asking yourself to get yourself out of that mentality of the me versus you, and instead thinking about the we, right? The only way you guys are going to win is if you both win, if you both team up together. So something that I want you to keep in mind the next time you find yourself in conflict with your spouse is, what would actually make this better moving forward? And you can ask yourself this prior to going into the conversation, as well as while you're in the conversation. If you notice that what you're doing is not effective, and what I mean by effective is not tearing your partner a new one, right? Giving them a piece of your mind. What I mean by effective is delivering whatever it is that you're wanting to share, but with respect and compassion and collaboration. If your approach doesn't accomplish those things, then what could you do that would make it better? And that could be taking a break to process some more and coming back, or pivoting what you're doing. Okay. Of course, there's so many nuances when it comes to conflict resolution, and it all depends on what your style of communication is, what your partner's communication style is, what's going on in your head, what's going on in their head. So, what I want you to keep in mind is what would actually make this better moving forward? Not what do I feel like doing? Because sometimes we can get petty, right? But what would actually make this better? Because behind the wall that you're putting up to protect yourself, you deeply just want to reconnect with your partner. So, what would you need to do in order to accomplish that? Judging them, criticizing them, blaming them, all that, that's not going to do it, right? They're just going to get defensive. So, what can you do to improve things, to help you guys work together as a team? This is where the partnership piece comes in. Moving from expressing to actually solving, right? We're going to try and do things that are effective, not just go in with full emotion, full reactivity, super angry, ready to tear them a new one, but rather, okay, what do I want out of this? What would make this better? How can I support us into moving through this as a team, right? So if you're enjoying these questions that will help you reflect and help you keep the conversation productive, go grab my conflict to connection guide. Or this is where coaching really accelerates things, right? If you are wanting to see changes in your marriage and not feel confused about what to do next and how to handle things, that's where coaching can help. You can learn the tools of healthy communication through my PEACE method, walk through the connected partnership framework, and get you to a place where you can break out of these reactive communication patterns that you had and move into intentional partnership and move into and experience a lighter version of your marriage, one that doesn't feel so heavy all the time. Okay? So that's it for this episode. Go try that. If you know someone that could benefit from listening to this episode, please share this with them. Better yet, share this in your stories and tag me so I can say hi. If you love this show, thank you so much for being here and for listening to this show. Please consider leaving a rating and review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. That's what helps the show grow and helps more people like you get the help that they need. And I'll catch you back here on the next episode. Bye.
If you're listening to this and you're starting to see your own patterns a little more clearly, that's exactly where change begins. And you don't have to figure out the rest on your own. I got you. If you want help taking what you're noticing and actually shifting it in your relationship, check out the show notes for next steps to help things move forward in your marriage, whether that's a guide, a masterclass, or booking a clarity call if you're ready for support. Stay tuned for the next episode. See you there.